when you do it in that way, you don't give a shit like if the comments are good or bad. You almost embrace negative comments because you're like, yep, that's like, it's ugly. Like, this is what we're talking about. It's going to make people uncomfortable. You're not outing yourself in a way. You're kind of like shining a light on a lot of people's experiences that will relate, unfortunately.
What's going on? Welcome back to the She's of the Band podcast here on KNOTFEST. We've got Mercedes of Softcult here today. It is so cool to see you. How are you, dude?
It's awesome to see you again. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I feel like we still have so much to catch up on, but we had a few minutes to yap before we started this thing. The first time we did an interview was 2014. If anybody really wants to go into the YouTube archives and dig out the lore, it's there.
Yes. The scene hair is there.
For both of us as well. I think my ends were like dip dyed red because that's what you did in 2014. You had like the blonde streak.
I was going to say my ends were dead is what they were.
It's pretty goth of you. It's pretty dark.
Yeah.
And the cut up t-shirts, the whole thing. But you know what? This is actually a fun place to start because that's something we have in common is that I would say youth is online, like documented online, like our evolution and years of growth is all just right there. And I feel like we're kind of one of the first generations that's happened to, really. How do you feel about that?
It's interesting because it's like I can remember my childhood that was so not online. In fact, very opposite. Like Phoenix and I were homeschooled and we were running around catching frogs and being little outdoorsy kids. So that is like great fond memories, but pretty much from the age of, I want to say like 13 and on, everything just seemed like it was more and more online. And, that was connecting with friends and stuff. And now it feels like, okay, this is like a job and like a task that you have to do every day. So
I know. Remember the days where we were just excited to log on MySpace at the end of a school day or whatever it was? And like it was like an occasion to get online. And now it is like, it's an occasion to get offline.
Yeah.
So that's a swap.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like, not to be all negative or whatever. Like there's definitely no one that would know of Softcult in Thailand if we didn't have any sort of social media. But yeah, it's like my least favorite part of being an artist for sure.
That seems to be a common denominator. I have yet to find an artist who loves being an influencer because that's not what you get into it for, but it is just part of the job,
It is, but it's not a part that, I feel like we're necessarily good at, especially in this band. Like we're so into holing up in the studio because now we have a home studio and stuff, and we're just so into like writing and recording and playing live. And it's like, it's kind of funny. Like we have people that are reminding us like, oh yeah, you should be posting, you should be making content and all this stuff. But it's just like not, when you're in the moment, you're just so not thinking about that. You know what I mean?
I hear you. At the same time though, I do feel like you have a really cool presence online. Like, you got quite a cohesive feed. You have such a cool aesthetic through everything you do. And I feel like that in itself is the brand, is almost the mystery and the lack of, constant bombarding of social media content too. Like that in itself is an angle. Not that this is turning into a marketing meeting, but
but you'd be surprised. Like people, like, I think nowadays, what is cool about nowadays is no one really fucking knows. Or can I swear? I don't know. No one really knows. So it's like, you can kind of just do whatever you want. Yeah. And we started as a band in lockdown, like so many bands did. And I feel like, especially in those days, we were very much starved for connection and like physical thing in a physical way. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why we got into like the zine culture of the 90s and starting a zine, which really influences our art and everything like that. And then also we literally have a zine that we mail out and it's like physical copies, stuff that you can like hold in your hands and stuff. And Phoenix still to this day like does all our art, and it's all mixed media collage kind of vibes. So it wasn't really something we like planned as a brand per se, but it just ended up being that. And I feel like it is a big part of like the overall aesthetic of what we do.
Yeah, and I mean, given your music is so really 90s inspired, like that's what it was back then. Everything was tangible still. Yeah. And so you're able to kind of bring that art form back into the present day, especially for people who weren't there the first time, which is cool.
Yeah, which I was, just for the record. I was born in 1993, so I may not remember very much of the 90s, but it is like this nostalgic thing, you know, like your whole life you're growing up with like all these bands and stuff, even if you're like...
Even in the 2000s, it was still huge.
Yeah, totally.
100%. Well, you kind of beat me to... I love when like the guest kind of beats me to the question because I get so excited to talk about some of these things. I want to talk about your zine and the fact that you're so hands-on and DIY in the way that you connect with fans. I know Discord is a big part of the way that you do that too. I guess what has... kind of starting from the ground up of connecting with a fan base in these sort of ways taught you about the power of connection through music, connection through art, because like that's at the end of the day what makes music so magical in my opinion.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, I guess we're also fans of music, you know what I mean? So it's important as an artist to remember what that is like to be a fan of, like everyone is a fan of something, right? Yes. So it's like, I think the cool thing about when we first started was we were watching a lot of documentaries just to get inspired. And most of it was like bands in the 90s. So we were watching documentaries about like PJ Harvey and Bikini Kill and Hole and like a lot of these you know, feminist icons, I guess. And that was inspiring not only our ethos as a band, but also, like I said, the art that we made and the connection to fans, because it was mostly zine culture, handing out pamphlets at shows, forums, you know, fan forums. It's just like, it's a way to connect. And in this day and age online, it kind of sucks because you can't really directly know if you're connecting to a fan unless it's like something like that or like a email list or something. Like otherwise it's just all these big media companies that are so greedy and you have to pay for access to your own fans, which sucks. So I think we just right off the bat, we were like, okay, that's how we want to approach it. And we were always okay with like, even if you don't reach everybody, it's okay if it's kind of like a niche fan base. And it's like, we're okay with being like a big fish in a small pond if it means that we can sort of pave the way in that genre. So yeah, so I felt like it was a lot more, what I've learned personally is like the personal connection matters the most. Like, because when you try to kind of appeal to everybody, you're ultimately like watering down your message or your art form.
And you still won't win. You'll never appeal to everybody anyway.
It's kind of impossible. So it's like best to just like do what you do, what feels right for you. And for us, it's always been about like making music that we would listen to and that we like. And just trusting that there's got to be someone else out there that would enjoy that. You know?
And I think that's the most beautiful victory of it all is that in your most authentic self and connecting in ways that maybe others would see as outdated or not relevant anymore, you have found the biggest success of your music career so far in this project. And that is such a wonderful, like I love when I see authenticity and just like true creativity just prevail.
Yeah, I feel like literally that is just such an important thing to remember. Like to any artists out there starting projects or whatever it is, just like be true to yourself. As cliche as it sounds, people connect with authenticity and sincerity, and especially right now in this day and age, I feel like we're almost starved for it. Like we want that sincerity. So when you try to kind of be cutting edge and ahead of the curve and try and predict what people are going to like, it's a little bit of a waste of time. It's more important to focus inward on like what you connect with, and then other people will connect as well.
Hugely. And you know, again, I'm just like, I have so many thoughts and so many ways I want to go with this conversation of authenticity because it's a huge part of the album.
Yeah,
it's a huge part of the album that's coming out. And really the story that you are telling as a band, and not just through your ethos and everything you're creating, but truly in the message you're wanting to convey. I would love to say, I don't talk about it that often publicly because I just keep my private life so private, but we have totally parallel stories, which I think is so cool. Because I know you mentioned I think it was a previous interview or in the artist bio, that you came out as queer after an 11-year relationship. And that, even coming to authenticity in that way, is such a beautiful metamorphosis. I did the same thing after a 4-year relationship.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It feels great. And I loved, I guess, being able to see who you were 11 years ago when we did our first interview, who you are now, and seeing you step into your own in that way, especially because I resonate so much with that. So I'm just like, yes, let's go. And so now, as you are on kind of the other side of that and like in your truest self, what would you say to your younger self about that process?
I mean, like, I know you'll get it. Like, you just kind of have to go through it. And I think it's important to listen to yourself. I maybe am speaking from my own experience, but I do feel like as women, we're kind of conditioned to be pleasing other people before we're really thinking about what do we want and what makes me happy. You're kind of conditioned to think about how you can comfort everyone around you.
And not even getting into compet, which is a whole thing too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's like, it's very confusing. In a lot of ways, I feel really lucky to have come out later in life because I already knew that my support network would be all for it. True. Like my friends, my family. At this stage in my life, I've really surrounded myself with people that are supportive, and so I had it easier than most in a lot of ways. But then I think it was kind of like, for me personally, it felt like I would just have to choose myself as opposed to continuing to like make other people in my life happy and then losing pieces of myself to do that.
Yeah.
So I think when you're at that crossroads, you're like, man, I know that by doing this, I'm going to be actively hurting people that I care about in my life, potentially. And at that point, like, you're scared to make that choice. But in the end, also for anyone out there that is also questioning or unsure, you can't sacrifice your own happiness and your own living your authentic life for other people. So if you're questioning, it's not a selfish choice. It honestly is like setting yourself free and setting others free by doing it. So it's
beautifully put.
Yeah, it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I think that's something I also learned through the process is like, if you kind of withhold parts of yourself almost as like a martyr to others, it just breeds so much resentment and frustration that really doesn't serve either party or anyone involved in it, right?
Yeah.
And even I feel like you find your people that really want to embrace you in those moments where you're authentic with them too. And it kind of weeds out the ones who aren't your people too.
Yeah,
you kind of find your place.
And I feel like deep down we all know. Oh, like we might not
No, when I told my family, they were all like, yeah.
Yeah. It's not really as big of a surprise.
No.
As you think it's gonna be.
I wanted the big, oh my God, what? Yeah. No, I didn't get it.
No.
So that's actually funny. I'm sure you've seen the Instagram trend then of like, it's like the photo that gave you away when you were a kid. Have you seen this? Where it's totally. Like, what's the photo that gave you away? Do you have one? Or like, because you were talking about catching frogs when you were a kid. That's a giveaway.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm also really lucky because my twin sibling like came out when we were 13 and identifies as non-binary. And so in a lot of ways, they really like paved the way for me, and I learned a lot through them, and I already felt like in some ways part of the queer community before I even came out, and because a lot of my friends are queer, and I have Phoenix to thank a lot for that, like I felt like I wasn't just kind of breaking into this community where I didn't feel I belonged, which was nice. The photos though, like we were totally just tomboys growing up. Like I don't know. I feel like almost any childhood photo you see, there is an actual photo of us in like these overalls that have they're corduroy overalls, and then we're wearing shirts that have like leaping frogs on them, like airbrushed, very 90s.
Oh my God, the airbrush shirts. Yeah.
And the little caps, and we had like little, I don't know. We look like dykes in the photo, like for sure. In almost every childhood photo, for sure.
Let's just say you were raised right.
We were raised right. Yeah. We were.
I like that though. And that's such a cool thing, I guess. So you were kind of able to dress how you wanted to and where, you know, be who you wanted to be at a young age, which is awesome.
I feel really lucky because our parents, like they were not religious in any way. They were very, it almost sounds bad to say open-minded because it's like, what are you accepting of, right? It's like just being empathetic towards everybody.
Which should be the norm.
It should be the norm.
It should be the norm.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like it's not like they're like sacrificing anything by being that way. But my parents were always very like, I don't know. They're always very open, and we never felt any sort of like pressure to be straight or anything, to be honest. They're open of us like really understanding when we wanted to tour at 16 and stuff, you know? So they already had sort of this support, or we had this support from them our whole lives. And that wasn't just around our career path, but also like who we are as people. Yeah. And I think all they ever wanted us to be was just good people, you know?
Yeah, I guess that even the fact of like touring and being in a band, like that's so different than the norm. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're lucky my parents were supportive in the end, but my mom absolutely was losing it because I went on a Warped Tour the first time I was 19 years old. Yeah. So I was a little older, but that's like a big thing for a family to accept at such a young age. So really cool that we both had that, just like,
and that's quite the environment to tour in as a 19-year-old woman.
How old were you on your first Warped Tour?
Oh gosh. 2014 was the first full Warped Tour we ever did. Yeah. So I 20. So around the same age as you-ish. Yeah.
It's a lot of math. Sorry.
I'm not great at math.
No, that's why we're in music and entertainment. It's all good.
I know I was not of legal drinking age at the time.
Right.
I know that. So I must have been 20 years old.
And so you've also seen the scene in itself become more accepting because 2014 was a very different time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Even just in terms of like representation, I remember there were barely any women like on the stages on the tour we were on. Outside of the Shira Girl stage, which was like all women. But yeah, there were, not to say there weren't women on the tour. There are tons of women on the tour, you know, but they're mostly behind the scenes or you know, so it's interesting to be in that position. And like you said, the scene has changed. It's become a lot more intersectional and inclusive than it was. And in general, less of this like kind of band bro mentality with like, I don't know if you remember this, but the lot lizards, like that was like a term people used to use. Does that trigger you?
I think I just had more flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was... And that was even a term in 2018, so many years later. Yes. Yeah. Which, like, for anybody who doesn't know, is a derogatory term for female guests that were just at the festival.
They would, like, basically be maybe led into the barbecues at the end of the night, and then on the pretense of, like, they're going to sleep with someone in the band, basically.
Which I also want to say, it's no shade to Kevin and the people who put on the festival. That is just the culture of the scene at the time. That is not a reflection of Warped Tour.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was a... I feel like we probably couldn't get away with that now, thankfully. I feel like somebody would be like, yo, what are you saying?
Yeah. You know? And it's luckily, I don't feel like it's just coming from the women that are like raising their eyebrows. I feel like there's a lot of guys in the scene nowadays that are like not about that life. And they're not perpetuating those stereotypes anymore, which is nice.
And not to toot our own horn or anyone else, but like having conversations on female focused platforms, I think like there's guys who listen to this and they're learning more about the experience of femme presenting people, you know, and that's really important too.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
A little more empathy. Yeah, thanks for listening, dudes. Dudes and everyone listening. I do also, actually, while we're on this topic, I think it's a really great time to talk about your song 1625.
Thank y'all.
Wow. The first time I listened to that, you know what, the same sinking thing I just did into my seat. If you're listening on audio, I just sank into my seat. Yeah. I really had that feeling when I heard that song. It's a heavy one, and I think it really did a really poignant job of portraying that power dynamic of a younger woman, predatory older man, and kind of that grooming situation that unfortunately I do feel like a lot of femme presenting women understand.
Yeah.
You know? When even writing that song or kind of writing any of these songs that just come from such a heavy place, is it more cathartic for you? Are you thinking about how it makes the audience feel? Is it kind of this symbiotic sharing? I feel like there's a healing in it, and also it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely cathartic. It feels good to purge yourself of sort of these traumas.
It's like
through
rage,
music.
Honestly. I felt, at least hearing that song.
Yeah, and calling it out and displaying it. You know, there's something really empowering and freeing about that.
Especially when it's so taboo, right? Yeah. Something like that happens, you don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
So to scream it the way you were.
Yeah, it helps. And it also, it's like, when you do it in that way, you don't give a shit like if the comments are good or bad. You almost embrace negative comments because you're like, yep, that's like, it's ugly. Like, this is what we're talking about. It's going to make people uncomfortable. But yeah, I think it is, to answer your question, it's a mix of like talking about lived experiences, but then also understanding that they're shared experiences. Yeah. Sadly, like pretty much every woman that I know or femme presenting person has had to endure really messed up situations like that at least now, like you said before, if we're talking about it, it's out in the open. It's less of this behind closed doors taboo thing.
And there's power and strength in numbers of coming together to speak about it too.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's like I think that's been since 2016 and the Me Too movement. It's like it's opened the door to allow people to talk about it more openly and realize, okay, it's also less scary to talk about it when you're like, you're not outing yourself in a way. You're kind of like shining a light on a lot of people's experiences that will relate, unfortunately. But yeah, that song in particular, it's about grooming and I think especially in the music industry, that's kind of the angle that we were writing from, although I'm sure it exists in like a lot of industries. But in entertainment, like it's not, at least when I was growing up, it's not like weird to be with like a way older guy, you know,
and especially
what I mean?
The power dynamic that comes into that too. Yeah, especially if it's a powerful man or even we see it a lot, fan artist.
Yeah. Which is like a responsibility on the artists now that I think is now we're realizing more. They're about
scared. They should be.
Yeah, and to just like realize with great power comes great responsibility. Like it's not like, like there are certain inappropriate behaviors and lines that you definitely don't want to cross as an artist. Just keeping in mind the power dynamic that you have with people that look up to you, you know? But I think as, you know, trying to remember what it was like as a 16-year-old girl in the music industry, most of the time you just want to be part of it and accepted and like part of the community. And you're not thinking necessarily about even like dating someone. It's more about being accepted and welcomed into this community. And that's where I feel like some of the predatory stuff can happen because you're just trying to like be a part of it in the same way that your peers are a part of it. But there seems to be a cost of entry, which hopefully doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said. I think about, I guess this is a question I had, and I think as you're saying this, of how naive I was when I first got into the music industry. And really, your album almost tells the story that mirrors, I think, the transformation I've gone through. And obviously you've gone through because you've written about it, right? Of like, that naive, soft place, and then you go through these traumas or an abuse situation or this power dynamic or something that kind of hardens you or I don't know, leads to a resistance, right? I think now, like, even just having this conversation is almost the resistance after the difficult time that is kind of portrayed on this album, right? You would say, I don't want to speak for you on that, but that is what I read.
I mean, and I'm glad that like, I hope that comes across because we planned it very carefully, even with just like the track listing. Like, obviously listen in whatever order you want, but if you do listen to it from start to finish, there is like a storyline, and it starts from a place of naivety. It starts from a place of you know, I guess innocence, and then shitty traumatic experiences that radicalize you and turn you into someone who empowers themselves in the end, hopefully.
Precisely,
But that journey for me took about like almost 15 years, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it is a tough thing to write about, to put it all into one album, but we definitely tried.
And what I find so interesting about telling that story is I think about kind of my own emotional turmoil when I think about that, because sometimes I really pine for that naive, soft part of me that once existed. It's kind of like no turning back now once you're radicalized, as you said. Do you feel like you have any sort of those grappling feelings of balancing the softer, kinder parts of yourself with also wanting to fight the good fight and be strong in the face of all this? Because that's like the feminine experience in a lot of ways, isn't it?
That's so true. Like, that is such a good point, because there is like, it sucks to say, but there's definitely a part of you that you feel like you can never really get back after like some experiences. You're just kind of like, it's not about thinking about what you lost. I feel like it's like not allowing those experiences to completely make you jaded or hardened off to the world. It's almost like an act of resistance to remain tender and soft and nurturing, and
that's beautiful.
It's tough to do in a patriarchal society, but if you kind of,
it's almost like they win if you lose that, isn't it?
Yeah. Remember, like, our natural state, you know, imagine if you could somehow heal those parts of yourself and and become that version of yourself, knowing what you know. It's almost a stronger version than being completely ignorant or naive to it, you know? So
yeah, hugely. I love the visual of sort of that inner child and almost being able to like parent that inner child. Like, she's still there. Like, those soft parts are still there, but now we look out for her, I guess. I'm getting too woo-woo. Sorry, gang.
No,
you know.
Thank God for therapy, you know?
True. What is so cool about being able to have these conversations with you and the fact that this all ties into your music is I feel like I can look back at your earlier work and look at what you're doing now and how poignant it is. And there's also kind of that journey of confidence as an artist to be able to articulate these things in music in such a beautiful way as well. Like, with the genre you're in, it's so fluid and emotional and beautiful, and so thoughtfully crafted. How do you feel like you got to this place to be able to feel ready to release something like this?
Ooh. Like, I guess since Softcult started, we have only done EPs.
Yeah.
So we have 4 EPs out.
Iconic EPs, for the record.
They're all like, I love them like they're my children.
They're so good.
But it just felt like the right time to put out a full length. And with this full length that's coming out, we really wanted to show all sides of the band. And so it is a pretty eclectic album. Like,
almost sounds like it's a defining release.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like you really want to show the shoegazy dream pop side, but also we're very influenced by Riot Grrrl and grunge and punk, and so it's like trying to infuse all of those influences together into one thing. But it ends up being pretty well rounded, and we definitely go to musical places that we hadn't tried before. So yeah, I think what made us feel ready was it's just like we've always wanted to release an album, and we felt like, okay, at least we're out there in the world now. We have 4 EPs. It's like we're established as a band at this point. Yeah. We can afford to take a little bit of time off touring that, you know, an album's worth of songs is required.
Right.
That time off to record and write and everything like that. And then we've also kind of been sharpening the blade this whole time with the EPs and with touring and having life experiences to be like, we know what kind of album we want to put out at this point. So I'm glad that we took our time with it and that the first album is like coming after, you know, we've kind of found our sound, I guess.
You sure did. And it was one hell of a journey to get to this point, really. It's like, I don't want to keep harping on the past so much, but like we met when you were in Courage My Love.
Yeah.
And it was a very different identity, very different sound. What was the turning point? I know like pandemic obviously changes a lot for people's mindset. So I don't want to answer my own question, but maybe I just did. I fear. But like what was sort of the turning point moment where you were like, we got to switch this up. We're going shoegaze.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I mean, it was the pandemic in a lot of ways because I feel like everybody was like stuck inside with their life choices for like a year and a half.
For better or
2 years.
for worse, we sure damn were.
Yeah, you're like everything about it, you're like questioning, you know?
Yeah.
But also, no tea, no shade, but full disclosure, Courage My Love was signed to a major label that owned us for our entire career, and the relationship started out great, but then by the end, it became this very controlling relationship where like, I'm not even joking, we would write like 50 songs and then like none of them would get chosen. Our A&R guy like stopped replying to our emails and we'd wait like a month in between correspondences. And so it really like felt like we were getting shelved. And we were quite young at the time too. So it just felt like our career, like all these dreams that we had and just kind of like, I don't know, like all this potential that were like trying to build on, it just felt like we were going like, basically the first half of Courage My Love's career was really exciting because you're climbing up and you see growth and then you plateau and then you just are stagnant for so long and you know the graph starts going like this. It's hard, like it's an ego blow, but also I think we realized there were a lot of songs that we wanted to put out and a lot of subject matter that we wanted to write about that was just getting like shut down and denied. That we realized like, okay, this band is over because we're now at this point writing like not our best stuff. We're trying to please everybody. And as painful as an experience as that was, I do feel like it helped us with Softcult to realize like, okay, here's what we know that we don't want to do in a band again. And we're going to like, for better or worse, like stick to our guns. And I think that's really helped us. It's really paid off, like, with our writing and our relationship with the label we have now and everything, you know?
Yeah, that's really gnarly. That's every artist's worst nightmare for something like that to happen. And I can feel such frustration because, I mean, anyone who's ever worked with me, I do everything myself. I like micromanage to a T. I'm very bad at delegating. I want to do everything myself, but I'm also really driven to get things done. And so I can only fathom the absolute frustration of having that kind of drive because I know you guys had the work ethic and you still do, right? You do so much yourself. You have your own home studio, you do all this yourself. And then so you put in all the work, you have the hunger for it, and then it's all in someone else's hands and you just have to like sit around and wait.
Yeah, you feel like very powerless. And I think that's like something that also helped us appreciate the DIY way of doing things too. Because now it's like when you're young and like you have the stars in your eyes and stuff, you think getting signed to a major label is like the best possible thing that could happen to you.
Oh, I have all these people working for me. I'm a hot shot, right?
You feel like, and obviously the opportunity is massive, but I think that experience helped us realize like, you know, we don't care about all of that as much. We just care about like releasing music that we love and having the end result be something that we're proud of. And when you do things DIY, yes, it's a lot of work and you're doing it all yourself and you may not have as much funding or whatever, you know, but at least you are learning how to do multiple jobs. And it is a very empowering experience to do that. So I know you can relate, but yeah, I think that's another really positive thing about Softcult that just as individuals helped Phoenix and me, because I feel like we got our confidence back through this band. You know?
It seems like just in every way, this project is reclaiming your power, not just as people in being able to tell your stories in the way that you are, but like even just being able to do this project at all is like kind of showing them who's boss, to be honest, you know?
Yeah.
And that you're capable. It's so sick. And being DIY, I mean, I think people don't realize how many different crafts you have to be good at to like have a music career. Like you can't just be a musician, content creator.
Yeah,
you know?
straight up.
But it's like so beyond that too. What do you think is the most off the wall or like surprising skill you've taken up?
Like anyone who knows me knows that I am a very creative brained person, almost to the fault where like the logical side of things doesn't always, like the math doesn't always match for me.
I love that though.
You know?
I'm laughing because I kind of like, I'm into it. Let's
just
go.
Like anything technical, I tend to have a hard time with, but then learning, I think one of the most empowering things for me was honestly learning how to operate a camera and edit and film our music videos and all of that stuff. Because there is a lot of science behind cinematography and lighting and just your settings and everything. It's like, you know, there's certain things you can't argue with, and science is kind of like the truth of the universe. You can't kind of, you know, poetry your way out of it in a lot of ways. So
I'm stealing that. You know, can't poetry your way out of it.
You can't be, you know, you can't kind of interpret it. It just is what it is. And so,
which is why I flunked science in school, for the record.
But I think the beauty of something as technical as cinematography is it marries that science with creativity and storytelling. And so it may not be that off the wall of a skill that I learned, but it's definitely a skill I never thought I could master. And I'm starting to really understand it. And it's all thanks to YouTube tutorials. So
there we go. And you know what? It expanded your mind in a new way. And that's also really, I don't know, encouraging, exciting,
it's true.
Inspiring.
Yeah, you can learn new tricks. Even at 31, you can learn new tricks.
It's so funny because I also just did an interview literally a couple weeks ago at the time they were filming this with Calva Louise. I don't know if you're familiar, but she also self-taught herself how to do like special effects, video effects through YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
Lo and behold.
Yeah, it is honestly free knowledge. Knowledge is power, for sure.
Very true. And just thinking of how far you've come, how cool the whole journey is of where you've gotten to with Softcult now. I was reading some of the accolades in your bio and I was just like, this is so sick. Right. So like,
thank you.
Paste, Stereo Gum, to name a few, like you've gotten huge press coverage, tours with Incubus and Muse, recognition from Ollie Sykes, Hayley Williams, like swoon, especially like Warped Tour 2014 me.
I know.
Crazy, crazy, crazy.
It does not feel real actually still.
But it's so earned.
Thank you.
It's valid.
It's just with the cool thing, and I'm sure you get this too, but literally being in a band, I just kind of always assume no one's ever heard of us. And then I've always wanted to be in a band that's like a band's band, like a band that other bands listen to.
Which is like the coolest kind of band.
Because it's like real, recognizing real. And it doesn't get more real than Hayley fucking Williams. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that she even knows we exist is just like, I can die happy. If we never accomplish anything beyond that, like, it's fine. We're good.
I want to set the bar even higher for you, so we're not going to stop there, but I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I don't know if that is it or if you have another answer, or what your thought is of the most rewarding thing you've done up till this point. What for you is like that sort of pinch me, we made it, like, I don't know, have you had a moment like that that's really clicked for you in that way?
It might sound a little cliche, but when we did our first headline tour in Southeast Asia, and we had a couple shows in Tokyo, just at different venues, and they sold out. Wow. And the crowd was just like amazing and like singing every word. And there is something, like we're from Canada. To break out of Canada and then go pretty much as far across the world as you can go as a DIY band. I think about like living with my parents during the pandemic and making music in one of the rooms of their house and like, then getting to Tokyo and playing a sold out show. Right. That was a moment where I just looked over at like my friend Brent, who also plays guitar in the band. And we just had this shared moment where we looked at each other and he kind of like nodded like, yep, this is it. And I just was like, we so fucking magical. Made it,
That's magical, especially because like you could say, yeah, we have a tour in Japan or whatever. And like you might see the statistics that people are listening. But then when it's right in front of you, I think that's because there's sort of a cognitive dissonance to seeing things online sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when it's right in front of you, you're like, oh, really, really?
There's no substitute for that live experience. And like, I think that show in particular was crazy because we got not one, but 2 encores. There was a song that they really wanted us to play and we were like, all right, we'll play it by the end. But they weren't leaving until we played the song. And so, I don't know. It's just a really fun memory. Like, I feel like that's going to be one I tell my grandkids or something one day,
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. And like, cheers to many more.
Thank you.
Like,
yeah.
Still going. So. Still got it. Well, I like to end every episode with some jaw-dropping questions, just a series of little fun ones. So it's your time. First one. What is the most, well, I feel like you just answered it. What is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show?
That is a jaw dropper. Absolutely. For sure. There was basically, on the Incubus tour, we played at a venue in London called the Royal Albert Hall. It's like an iconic venue. Like The Cure played there. Like just really famous bands have played there. And it's like 5,000 capacity. And we had this song where we did the classic thing where we were like, oh, everybody like put your flashlight on your phone. And it always looks sick at shows when people do that. But in that room, because it's like this round sort of theater, it felt like we were like in space. It looked crazy. And it's just like probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And thank God there's like so many pictures of it. But that was a jaw dropper where like I almost couldn't open my eyes when we were playing because I was like, I'm gonna cry. I can't get through the song if I open my eyes. I have to like focus.
It's like the sphere before the sphere existed.
Totally.
Like that sounds beautiful.
That if I ever see anything like that again for like a headline show, then that will maybe be the like, okay.
Manifesting the day you headline there.
Yeah.
It will happen
one day,
again.
Hopefully.
And now the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson you learned from it. You've been really thorough in this interview. I feel like we also kind of went through that a little bit too, but I digress.
The lesson.
Like a misstep early in your career and the lesson you learned.
A misstep. I think that like if I could turn the clock back, I would maybe stand up for myself more. Because when you're young and you're hungry and you have a lot of advice coming your way, it's natural to be like, I've got to pay my dues. I'm a sponge. I'm just going to take this advice and I'm going to go with it. And I feel like we need to be telling young people in general, but especially young women and young artists, like, trust your gut and listen to yourself and don't be afraid to stand up to even like a boardroom full of CEOs to be like, that's not how I see my art. That's not how I see myself. So yeah, I guess my biggest misstep thus far in my career was probably not doing that early on.
And it's easy to say that. I feel like that's something I'm still learning even now. I've been in this industry for 15 years as well. It's like that's still a tough thing sometimes. The one thing I've learned from that though is like there is an anxiety that can bubble up when your gut is starting to tell you something's not right. But then the moment you speak your truth, you start to feel safe again. And I think that's like a really important part of the puzzle is like the more you trust yourself and speak when you can, like the more secure in yourself you feel to do that again another time, right? Like it's kind of the process.
It's the power of no, right? Everybody's talking about that. It's like there is, and you can do it gracefully. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
Oh no, yeah.
But I think that in our minds we tend to like build it up a lot. That if you say no, then suddenly there's going to be this domino effect, which. You know, I don't know. Yeah. It's best to just stand in your truth.
And as a chronically nice girl, I'm like, I said no. Oh my God, that was so mean.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm a bully. But it's fine. There's really
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying no, you know?
Absolutely. And now, the most jaw-dropping female artist you would love to work with. I wonder, you did just talk about Hayley Williams for like 5 minutes. I don't know.
I mean, like that would be a dream come true. I think anyone in the industry... as anyone in the industry, not even just as a woman, but I feel like she is like our Joan Jett. Like she just paved the way. You know what I mean? A huge influence on our music is a woman named Kathleen Hanna, and she founded the band Bikini Kill. She's also an author, and has other bands and other music and all this stuff.
A legend.
Yeah, a legend.
Yeah.
I would love to just meet her, let alone work with her or do anything with her. So, yeah.
Yes. Shout out Kathleen Hanna if you would like to collaborate with Softcult and come on the She's the Band podcast.
Yeah, if you're listening.
The invite is so open.
It's open.
And last one here, the most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood.
Oh, okay. I don't want to get dark, but I feel like this is a huge misconception about the band and me and just feminists in general, lesbians in general. We don't hate men. You know what I mean? It's not a gender thing. Like,
thank you.
You cannot agree with the patriarchy. You cannot agree with certain things and still, you know, I have a lot of love for the men in my life, like the men that I've been with, the friends that I have, my bandmates. So if you hear a song that is calling out gender violence or is calling out misogyny or any of those things, it's not directly calling out all men. It is calling out specific acts and patterns that we're trying to learn from and change. Yes. So it's not about men in general.
So glad you said that, because also too, like when it comes to fighting the patriarchy, the best thing we could have on our side are male allies.
It's true. Yeah.
Like we want to work together and like have each other's support. And huge. Yeah. So if you support us, we support you.
It's really not this exclusive club that we're trying to make.
It's not that serious.
We want more. Everybody's invited.
Yes, 100%. I even had a guy on this podcast once who was doing really cool things to support women in music. So like, hey, I'm just saying.
That's the highest accolade I feel like you can get. If
it was like he's with the she band or something. Like,
he's with the band.
He's with the band. Anyways, thank you for debunking that though. So true. And everyone's welcome in the Softcult space that supports your mission, right?
Of course. Yeah, of course. And that it shouldn't have to be said, but I'm just going to keep saying it until it's understood. That includes men, that includes trans folks, black folks, any gender, ethnicity. All are welcome so long as you're not bigoted and so long as you're not doing anything to harm others. You're just there, existing, living your truth. That's all are welcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for building such a beautiful, inclusive, safe space to speak our truth, to share the truth, even to come on this podcast and have the courage to share your truth even further. Like, I'm so inspired by what your career has transformed into, and what a cool catch up.
Yeah.
Like what 11 years can do, eh?
I know, it's true. It's true.
I feel like the A was a little nod to, you know, Canada.
My home country.
Anyways, thank you so much for your time. And also, like, thanks for coming in a little early from you have a show here in LA. Like, tomorrow you're wrapping up a tour.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the last week of the tour, but yeah, the show tomorrow will be really fun.
Well, anything else you want to shout out that's coming up in the Softcult's universe? Let's hear it.
If there are listeners in Europe and the UK, we're coming there at the end of the year with She's Green. And if you like our music or you want to check us out, we're releasing an album on January 30th called When a Flower Doesn't Grow. please check it out. And thanks for listening.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you all for listening to the She's of the Band podcast here on KNOTFEST. Appreciate your time, and you can find us every other week on knotfest.com, and I'll catch you at the next one. Bye, y'all.